Okay, welcome back. Had a bit of a brainwave in the break, and I thought another really handy thing that you can add to your playing to make it sound a little speedier is they're kind of referred to as chromatic passing notes, which is actually a really scary title for something which is really essentially very simple. We've been playing in B minor for the last 10 minutes or so. So essentially what you've got the first finger on the 7th and the little finger on the 10th. However, there's two notes in the middle of that. They're referred to as chromatic passing tones. So you can see just by essentially filling in the gaps between those top two strings, kind of sounds pretty speedy, and essentially things like that. Generally, when you get used to them, they're fairly comfortable because it's kind of the natural rolling motion of the hands, as if you're drumming your fingers on your school desk, which is kind of my first guitar practice. So we'll just break that down. We'll kind of work out a couple of little exercises as we go. So essentially, we're going to start on the B, the 7th fret of the top E string. Hammer those three notes and then pull them off again. So I just want to remind you, number one, of the breathing. Why aren't you breathing? That's it. Deep breath. And also the left hand thumb, which ideally you should be able to take off. Essentially the thumb is kind of on the back of the neck for a little bit of support, almost to stop the hand from falling off the neck though. It's really not there to kind of counter loads of pressure with the fingers. There shouldn't be a whole bunch of pressure. You know, if you followed the examples that we did in the first DVD of this series, hopefully your fingers have got a lot stronger now without having to, they're a lot better at hammering on. Let's try the same thing on the B string. So again, we've got the note F sharp and A, which are the part of the B minor pentatonic. And then we've just included these two chromatic passing tones. Let's do it really slowly. 3 and 4 and. You may want to go back and forth between the top two strings. You may think, how are you going to use this? But this would sound fine over a straight B minor chord. The reason for that is it has a pentatonic foundation, basically. It still has a very strong pentatonic foundation with those little passing tones just kind of filling in the gaps for you. Okay, this works so well, why not try it on the G string? So we've got those two notes on the G string, the D and the E. So obviously you've only got one note that you can really add to the middle of that. But then there's this other note here, the F natural, the flat 5. Mentioned it earlier, also referred to as the blues note. So again, I'm just taking this Nothing very exciting happening with the pick, just a downstroke on the B string. and an upstroke on the G string. Added the top E string as well, just real simple pattern. It's nothing kind of too taxing there. Theoretically simple. I mean, so we've got 7, 8, 9, and 10 on each of the strings, and then the same in reverse. Maybe stick that Van Halen lick in we had earlier. Hours of fun, that. You may even decide you want to pick it. Picking is absolutely fine. We haven't spent a whole bunch of time on the picking hand so far. We'll do a little bit of that a little bit later on, but obviously using strict alternate picking. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, etc. Nothing clever going on there whatsoever. Hours of fun. We love chromatic passing tones, actually. They are really cool things to have. And without chromatic passing tones, we wouldn't have things like that. So they're kind of fun things to mess around with. You can also add them to the other strings as well. We've concentrated on the top 3 strings so far, obviously. These are kind of really common ones, just on the A and D string. Just add the notes in the gaps, really. Okay, here's another little chromatic picking chromatic thing that you might want to try out. Okay, so we're starting on the B string, straight up and down, hit the flat 5, hit the F sharp again, and then come back down on the G string, and back up again. So very slowly. Should keep you happy for hours. These kind of picking things, they're not generally too bad because you've got 4 notes on a string, down, up, so it's all kind of very, very logical. Might even be an idea to work on some of these exercises. Make sure both hands are completely synchronized. Straight up, it sounds good. And descending also sounds good. And up and down, one of my favourites. Again, you might want to. I probably wouldn't recommend doing too much of that kind of stuff there. You know, good exercises, I guess, but they're not necessarily things that you're going to use in a musical context. I don't believe in practicing things that aren't musical. hopefully everything that I've shown you so far is you could actually use it in some fashion or another, and things that do this things that do not so much that, I suppose, but these. It's not really, I don't know, it's not, you're not going to be whistling it in the bath, are you? Let's be honest. Okay, so I'll see you in the next section.